everyone. So this video is walking you guys through your second essay assignment. And this essay is a comparative essay. So pretty familiar to you guys, I'm sure. It is basically a compare and contrast style essay over the two poems that you read in this unit. So there's a lot of poems you guys read in this unit. There's a lot of different ways you can connect these, whether you're looking at literary elements or structure or theme or author information, voice, figures of speech, whatever it might be. So over this essay, or over this, you're going to write your essay over this prompt, I should say. You're going to choose two poems that you read in this unit from two different authors. And then you're going to compare and contrast their works in terms of literary analysis, using all the materials from the unit to help guide your analysis. So that's all of the, the lecture information about voice and syntax, tone, imagery, sound, theme, whatever it might be. When you choose these two poems, you could choose poems that seem to naturally go together, or you can choose poems that maybe are unexpected pairings. Choice is up to you. You just need to show how they're similar and different in terms of these literary elements, so things like theme, voice, figures of speech, so on. Use the graphic organizer that you guys created to help you organize your thoughts. So importantly, you do need to have two credible sources to help support your claim. They can be, research sources from the internet. What I suggest, if you're not quite sure where to start, it's not a bad idea to start with the scholarship, start with the research, see what, high-level source materials are talking about when it comes to analyzing these poems, and then that might help you find ways to connect two different poems. So your essay needs to be 3 to 4 pages in length, and it's due by Sunday, April 4th at 11:59 p.m. That means everything is down to the bottom of the third page at minimum, uses proper citation, is checked for plagiarism, has proper MLA formatting, and a bibliography included. So your bibliography should have at least 4 entries, and then you should have the 2 sources and then at least 2 poems. Here are all of the poem choices that we read in this unit. There's a lot of them, so like I said, choose carefully, choose ones that you have enough to say about both poems. You need to use the scholarly language that we've discussed in this unit, so really look at these poems as a scholar, and then pull in really solid evidence from the poems and from your sources, so that's quotes, as credible source material to support your claims. Couple of notes. One thing is that when you are doing a compare and contrast essay, you don't create a separate paragraph for each author. You don't say, The Road Not Taken, this poem did X, Y, and Z, and then another paragraph you say Harlem did X, Y, and Z. That's not comparing and contrasting, that's just looking at 2 different poems. A compare and contrast structure takes 3 or 4 main ideas and connects those poems either as being similar or different across those thematic concepts. So for example, say I was going to do say I was going to do To the Virgins to Make Much of Time and The Road Not Taken. I might say, my first main idea might be that both poems use an end rhyming structure, which helps create a certain rhythm for the audience. And then I would pull in pieces of evidence from To the Virgins that show that, and then For the Road Not Taken that show that. And then I would analyze and discuss around that. My second main idea might be that both of these poems are centered on the theme of not missing out. And then I might talk a little bit about that, pull in some evidence from both, and I might add that the difference, however, is that To the Virgins is really much more of a poem about young love and relationships, whereas The Road Not Taken is centered more on perhaps an older character looking back at his life. So the subject matter or the people there or the narrator may be very different. And that could be a main idea in and of itself. And then my third main idea might be that, you know, um, the movements in which they were written were very different. Whether you're talking, you know, the Romantic movement or early modern movement, the political situation was different, the social situation was different, and I would pull in quotes to show how those differences are reflected in the poems. So that is a very rough idea, but it gives you the idea of how you should structure this essay. So think thematically, think in terms of these larger concepts. So you might think of terms of how both poems compare in figures of speech, how they both compare in imagery, how they both compare in voice or syntax or point of view. Compare and contrast, of course. So that is, you'll want to think through those concepts, and that's where your graphic organizer can help. That's where an outline could help. You can use the same outline template, a similar outline template, I should say, to the first essay. It's up to you. That all of that content is there if you need it. So some things to think about. How do the works connect in terms of the theme or the other major literary elements? So how are they similar? How are they different? How are the structures similar or different? How does that impact meaning? Some of these very, very different structures, right? Next to Course of God, America, I, is very different than something like Because I Could Not Stop for Death. Or Fog. The physical structure of the poem is actually important in Fog, whereas, you know, in Harlem, maybe it's less important or has a different purpose or meaning. And then how do the differences and similarities between the authors and the historical situations impact the social, political, or economic framework surrounding the works? So this goes back to the idea of these are all written in very different, many of them are written in different eras, different movements, different times by different authors, right? You have very different authors who are writing The Road Not Taken from, you know, Suicide Note, or from being brought from Africa to America, or even, you know, Because I Could Not Stop for Death. Very different situations. How did those biographies or the historical situation change meaning between the two poems? How are they similar? How are they different? Could you connect something like Because I Could Not Stop for Death with Suicide Note? It might be possible, for sure. So you're going to be assessed on making sure you have a fully developed thesis statement, close analysis of the works, good evidence from the primary and the secondary sources, proper page length, MLA, number of sources and citations. You'll need in-text citations as well as the bibliography, of course, and a fully developed essay structure, including a significant introduction, main ideas, and conclusion, and then a good organization of ideas across thematic concepts rather than having a different section for each author. So as always, this is broad and open because I want you guys to choose the poems that mean the most to you, or that you know, hit you the hardest or were most impactful for you. And then I want you to talk about the concepts within that poem, those poems, that is of most interest to you. So choose things that you're interested in. That always makes it easier to write. And let me know if you have any questions or ideas or thoughts. Happy to provide some, you know, some suggestions if you have some ideas about what you might want to put together. Let me know if you have questions.